Friday, July 2nd, and I'm Pastor Brian Barano, and you are listening to Simple Rhythms. Simple Rhythms is a daily podcast aimed to give you a simple and steady diet of God's Word and to help us all prepare for this upcoming Sunday's sermon. Today's passage is from Exodus chapter 20, verses 12 through 17. Honor your father and mother, so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not give false testimony against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's house. Do not covet your neighbor's wife, his male or female servants, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So as we talk today, we know that in the Gospels, specifically in this one that I've read recently in Mark 12, it's actually one that we taught about in our Think Big series that we've been doing in the student ministry on Tuesday nights in June. Mark 12, 26 through 34, 28 through 34, where it talks about the greatest commandment, the great commandment, where it says, love God with all that you are and love your neighbor as yourself. And that was Jesus summing up the 10 commandments. You know, you've got the ones where it says, it talks about how you are to love God. And then you have the ones where it talks about how you are to love your neighbor. And if you look at this, your neighbor not only includes, or doesn't just include the people that are outside of your house. It also includes the people inside your house, because it says, honor your father and mother. And this commandment is just so interesting because of these commands that I read, to verses 12 through 17, this is the only one that has a promise attached to it. And we know that the God that we believe in is a God that keeps his promises. He makes promises and keeps promises. So he says, honor your father and your mother so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Now, so where is that coming from? Where does that, what does that mean? So, if you go to Deuteronomy 6, where it talks, and so it says here, honor your father and mother so that you may have a long life in the land that I'm going to give you. So here's the deal. In Deuteronomy 6, it says, listen, this is verse 4, listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These words that I am giving you today are to be on your heart. So it's the same thing. It's love God with all that you are. And then it says, repeat them to your children, which is a command to parents. Repeat them to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them be a symbol on your forehead. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your city gates. So when it says, honor your father and mother so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you, there is an assumption here that the people that they are speaking to, the children of God, the Israelite nation, that the parents that are part of that nation are doing what God has told them to do. And that is to teach their children the Shema, that the Lord is God, the Lord is one, that love the Lord your God with all that you are. And so there's this assumption in verse 12 in that commandment to honor your father and mother, that the father and mother are teaching the things of God at home, but not just at home, as they're walking and as they're coming in and out of the door of their house, that is written on the doorpost, just as the blood of the lamb was smeared on the doorpost on their Passover exodus from Egypt. And so you have this assumption that the parents are teaching the children about who God is, and that the children should learn about who God is and honor their parents in that. And then it goes in, do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not give false testimony against your neighbor, do not covet your neighbor's things. So a lot of times when we, there's a lot of times that for those of us that are believers, we struggle with interacting and in a God-honoring way with people that are our neighbors. And there are many people that I have talked to in my 20 plus years of ministry that the reason that they're not involved in the church is because they have had a bad interaction with someone that claimed to believe in Jesus. And for us, if we truly do love God with all of our, heart, mind, soul, body, strength, all that we are, if we love God with all that we are, then that love should come out in the way that we interact with people. And there's this idea, well, who is my neighbor? Well, it's anybody that we come in contact with. Because for us, the command that the mission that we were given was go and make disciples. And that's everybody in the world that doesn't know who Jesus is. So if we truly are to love God with all that we are, then that love should come out in the way that we interact with the people around us. And parents, that love for God and for others begins with you teaching God's Word and having discussions with your children about God's Word at home. I'm Brian Barnett, and we'll meet again next time on Simple Rules.